John chapter 13, Servanthood and the Commandment of Love. John chapter 13 marks a profound turning point in the gospel narrative, offering a deeply intimate and spiritual insight into the heart and mission of Jesus as he prepares for his impending crucifixion. This chapter, set during the Last Supper, is not only a recounting of historical events but also a carefully constructed theological statement about love, humility, betrayal, and divine purpose. The chapter begins with a poignant declaration of Jesus' awareness that his hour had come to depart from this world and return to the Father. The verse emphasizes that Jesus had loved his own and would love them to the end, signaling the depth and constancy of his devotion. In an act of startling humility, Jesus rises from the supper table, lays aside his outer garments, and begins to wash the disciples' feet. This task, customarily performed by the lowest servant in a household, serves as a vivid object lesson in servant leadership. It is particularly striking that the one identified by the disciples as Lord and teacher would take on such a demeaning role. When Jesus reaches Peter, the disciple protests, failing to comprehend the spiritual significance of the act. Jesus responds that unless he washes Peter, he can have no part with him, to which Peter, in his usual impulsiveness, asks for his hands and head to be washed as well. Jesus corrects him, saying that one who is already clean only needs to wash his feet, suggesting that this cleansing represents more than physical cleanliness. It points to spiritual purification, something that all but Judas among them had experienced. Jesus' act of foot washing is more than a gesture of humility, it is a model for his disciples to follow. After returning to the table, he explains the significance of what he has done, stating plainly that if he, their master, has washed their feet, they too must wash one another's feet. In this way, he establishes a principle that greatness in his kingdom is marked not by status but by sacrificial service. The message is clear: discipleship is not about privilege, but about embodying Christ's humility and love in service to others. Yet, even in this intimate setting of love and service, the shadow of betrayal looms. Jesus reveals that one among them will betray him, quoting a psalm that foretells of a close companion turning against him. This revelation deeply troubles Jesus, and the disciples are confused and uncertain. At Peter's urging, the beloved disciple leans close to Jesus to ask who it is. Jesus identifies Judas by giving him a piece of bread after dipping it, an act of friendship and hospitality that only heightens the treachery of what Judas is about to do. Upon receiving the bread, Judas is said to be possessed by Satan, and Jesus tells him to act quickly. Though the disciples do not grasp the full meaning of the moment, Judas immediately departs into the night, both literally and symbolically entering into spiritual darkness. Once Judas departs, Jesus speaks of his glorification, signifying that the time for his sacrificial death has come. Rather than framing the cross as a moment of shame or defeat, Jesus declares it the moment of God's glory. He then turns to his remaining disciples with words of affection and urgency, calling them little children and giving them a new commandment, to love one another as he has loved them. This commandment is not new in terms of content. Love had always been central to God's law, but it is new in its standard. They are now to love not merely as they love themselves, but as Christ has loved them, selflessly, sacrificially, and unconditionally. This love, he says, will be the defining mark of their identity as his followers. In a world full of religious observances and outward signs of devotion, Jesus establishes that love, real, visible, Christ-like love, is the true sign of discipleship. Finally, Peter, always eager and sincere, insists that he is ready to follow Jesus even to the point of death. Jesus gently but firmly corrects him, predicting that before the rooster crows, Peter will deny him 3 times. This foretelling of Peter's failure serves as a sobering reminder of human weakness. Yet it also contains a quiet note of grace. Jesus does not reject Peter, but simply reveals what will happen, already knowing that restoration will follow. John 13 thus serves as a microcosm of the gospel itself. Jesus, fully aware of his identity and mission, humbles himself in love, models the life he calls his followers to live, reveals the tragic reality of betrayal and denial, and lays the foundation for a community defined not by power or prestige, but by love. It is a chapter that challenges the reader to examine their own willingness to serve, to love, and to remain faithful in the face of hardship, even as it points ultimately to the hope found in the unwavering love of Christ.
Chapter 13. Now before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour had come that he should depart from this world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. And supper being ended, the devil having already put it into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, rose from supper and laid aside his garments, took a towel, and girded himself. After that, he poured water into a basin, and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel with which he was girded. Then he came to Simon Peter, and Peter said to him, Lord, are you washing my feet? Jesus answered and said to him, What I am doing you do not understand now, but you will know after this. Peter said to him, You shall never wash my feet. Jesus answered him, If I do not wash you, you have no part with me. Simon Peter said to him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. Jesus said to him, He who is bathed needs only to wash his feet, but is completely clean, and you are clean, but not all of you. For he knew who would betray him, therefore he said, You are not all clean. So when he had washed their feet, taken his garments, and sat down again, he said to them, Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you say well, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example, that you should do as I have done to you. Most assuredly I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is he who sent greater than he who sent him. If you know these things, blessed are you if you do them. I do not speak concerning all of you. I know whom I have chosen. But that the scripture may be fulfilled, He who eats bread with me has lifted up his heel against me. Now I tell you before it comes, that when it does come to pass, you may believe that I am he. Most assuredly I say to you, he who receives whomever I send receives me, and he who receives me receives him who sent me. When Jesus had said these things, he was troubled in spirit, and testified and said, Most assuredly I say to you, one of you will betray me. Then the disciples looked at one another, perplexed about whom he spoke. Now there was leaning on Jesus' bosom one of his disciples, whom Jesus loved. Simon Peter therefore motioned to him to ask who it was of whom he spoke. Then, leaning back on Jesus' breast, he said to him, Lord, who is it? Jesus answered, It is he to whom I shall give a piece of bread when I have dipped it. And having dipped the bread, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon. Now after the piece of bread, Satan entered him. Then Jesus said to him, What you do, do quickly. But no one at the table knew for what reason he said this to him. For some thought, because Judas had the money box, that Jesus had said to him, Buy those things we need for the feast, or that he should give something to the poor. Having received the piece of bread, he then went out immediately, and it was night. So when he had gone out, Jesus said, Now the Son of Man is glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and glorify him immediately. Little children, I shall be with you a little while longer. You will seek me, and as I said to the Jews, where I am going you cannot come. So now I say to you, a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Simon Peter said to him, Lord, where are you going? Jesus answered him, Where I am going you cannot follow me now, but you shall follow me afterward. Peter said to him, Lord, why can I not follow you now? I will lay down my life for your sake. Jesus answered him, Will you lay down your life for my sake? Most assuredly I say to you, the rooster shall not crow till you have denied me 3 times.